internship? I wanted to see the buildings.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, this is the end of my 3-month internship. What I've done for the past 3 months was work between Ryan and digital production as well as creative. So I'm just going to show you the results of my internship. I'm going to show you what I produced so far for the benefit of our Blue Hive company. So a little introduction about me for those of you who don't know me. My name is Emmanuel Ofe. I am in my final year at the University of Texas in Arlington in America. My major is operations management, which is in the business department. I have an interest in project management, and I wanted to learn about project management in a different environment. So I decided to get a certification from Project Management Institute, which is a global organization dedicated to the profession of project management. So it was really great for me to work in Ryan's team because I learned a lot of skills that can contribute to my project management study. I was able to come here, fortunately, because I won a scholarship from the United States government. It's called the Gilman Scholarship. I'm a 2015 summer scholarship recipient. Gilman Scholarship is basically for those whose parents never had the opportunity to get a college education, and if your family makes under a certain economic level, the United States government is a little bit generous. So they gave me some money. I convinced them to give me some money to come to China, and then they paid for my trip and everything on the condition that I learn Mandarin and on the condition that I work in an environment that can apply the knowledge to what I'm studying back in America. So for the next couple of slides, there are 4 main topics that I wanted to cover. The first is the point of my internship. Why did I come here? The final outcome of my internship, the results that we produced for Blue Hive, Ryan and I. Using the current knowledge and skills that I have to make this internship successful, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the techniques that I use and challenges that happened to me during this internship and how I overcame them. So the general point of this internship was for me to help creative. The sole purpose of me coming here was to find a way to improve the workflow process in briefing to completion. That was a pretty broad purpose, so after meeting with Ryan, we decided to put a little bit more detail into it so we don't, so we can avoid scope creep and we don't take forever. The main requirements was having an efficient timeline, making sure that it's something that's actually doable in the span of 3 months, ensuring the right information is provided for each brief. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but in some of the first discussions with creative, whenever people from accounts or strategy or any of the other teams are communicating with creative, we want to get to the point where they have just the information that they need. So part of the internship project was to find a way to have efficient communication. Tell creative what they need to do, what they need to make, and no more. Following the correct workflow, helping control the number of client reviews. We found out that it's pretty much a general consensus among everyone in the company that when you go more than 2 client reviews, that has serious pushbacks for the entire creative team. So we try to find a way to limit it to just no more than 2 client reviews. That way, in future discussions, for example, when accounts are speaking with clients, they can say, whenever you continue to push for more reviews and changes, this is how it affects our company. So Ryan and I, we decided that we were going to have the focus on 3 briefs. Regional nameplates, non-translated market, and translated market. So these are some of the checkpoints that we came across in order to make this internship successful. The very first thing I did was invite as many people as I could from accounts, strategy, and creative. We sat for an hour and we had a discussion. Whenever you guys are communicating with creative, what can we do to improve? Creative, they had their input. They say, this is a really good example of a brief. This is a really bad example of a brief. In future briefs, we would like it to be like this. We've also figured out during that meeting that we need a little bit more transparency. Creative needs to be more informed about, they need to be in on those initial meetings between accounts and clients, not just simply accounts getting told what to do from clients and then selling creative later and then not giving creative an opportunity to interact with accounts more. So those are some things we discussed. The next checkpoint, after gathering all those requirements from everybody in the meetings, Ryan and I, we designed a workflow, which is on the Blue Hive intranet. I created a draft. I spoke with Jackie. Here's the current workflow. What are the old processes that are not really working? What are some things we can introduce? So Ryan and I, we thought it would be a good idea to have kind of like a miniature kickoff meeting as soon as accounts gets information from clients, and then they meet up with creative, they have a kickoff meeting. Hey everybody, this is the vision that the clients want. Creative, this is what we want. It gets everybody organized, and it's a good project management technique because you want morale in the creative team to be high before they start working on the project. So that was in mid-July. The next events, we had buy-in from Mike Nass and JPJ. Myself and Ryan, we met, we told them what was the point of our project, what we're trying to do. They both agreed, they nodded their heads saying yes. We always want to know what creative is doing. It was pretty successful, but it was also an important step because it's hard to bring everybody together in Blue Hive to accomplish this task, to create accountability, to make sure that people are communicating with transparency if we don't have buy-in from leadership. So after we secured that, the next step in terms of my project, this is my last day, so the point of this presentation, it's not training. So that's the first and foremost, it's not training. You're going to go through training later, more in depth, with Nirja and Ryan. It was to bring up the discussion. Now, how can we at Blue Hive make it more efficient whenever we're giving creative the task to do? So on my end, the project is closing, but it's going to continue through, like I said, training with Nirja and Ryan after I leave. It breaks my heart that I'm not going to be there for the training, but you guys will be just fine with Ryan.
You come back.
Yeah, so again, to reiterate, the point was to update the Kanban board with automatic tasks. We wanted to create a little bit of clarity. Since Lily Tung has now come in, she's going to take over the role of Mallory. She's the creative resource manager. So in the future, after getting the briefs, it's going to be up to Lily to be the one to transition the upcoming projects for creative from the backlog all the way to completion. Here's an example of the initial meeting, the requirements gathering, when we met with creative and strategy and accounts. Creative decided this is a really good example of briefs. Whenever we log into Jira and whenever we want to create issues or new projects, it would be very nice to have specifically titled briefs to avoid confusion. So Ryan and I, we met and we said, we need one for quick brief, big idea, campaign, brochure, TV, creative. Eliminates confusion. So that was one of the things that we improved. You can look more on the Blue Hive intranet Influence page. You can read more about design reviews. Annotation functionality is something new that Ryan was introduced. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. It has to do with client interaction. For example, one of the things that Ryan introduced was that, and of course you'll be told about this more in depth with training, but we want to include clients in on the updates on what creative is doing with their projects, not just talk to them at the very beginning and then meet them very much later. So there's an ability for clients to go onto Jira, look at the images that creative currently has, and then they can make comments. They can say maybe this is too blurry or this is not our original vision, and then immediately after they log in their comments, creative can get updated on that, and then they can immediately go working on it. Another feature that we're trying to implement more wide use of is a calendar view. Again, it's on the Jira Blue Hive company intranet, where you can look at the launch calendars for all the comprehensive vehicles we have going on currently at Blue Hive. Another thing I wanted to talk about was organizing this project. There were so many things going on, and not having any previous knowledge of Blue Hive, I want to see how can I organize this project and how can we actually bring it to completion. So like I said before, if you remember at the very beginning, I told you I was interested in the project management profession. And being a member of the Project Management Institute, I have a free access to their official project management book. It's a body of knowledge. It's a very comprehensive book for whenever you're having situations in the field of project management. Maybe you're not getting along with your coworker. I never had to go to that section, so no problem. Maybe there are big tasks and you don't know how to break it up. So I looked in it and I decided I really wanted to follow an agile method of project management. I wanted to introduce small changes little by little at a time, incremental changes, which is virtually what agile project management is. I didn't want to change too many things and then people would be confused. I wanted to include them in on the conversation from beginning to end. So this project management body of knowledge was really instrumental in helping me. What I did is I took the templates from the book, which had 5 core processes to any project. Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Virtually every project, you always have to hit on each of these 5 process groups. So I looked at that and I studied a little bit and I tried to adapt it to actual Blue Hive project. And it turned into this. Ryan helped me with this a little bit. Initiating was at the very first when I talked about meeting with creative and accounts, digital strategists, telling them what was important of our project, kind of like a kickoff. Hey, I'm an intern, and this is the project that I want to complete. Planning was when Ryan and I sat down, and Ryan was actually updating the improved workflow based off the feedback that we got from the first meeting. Executing, this is still going on. So the thing about this is that they don't necessarily have to go in order. Like I mentioned earlier, on my end, my project is closing. Today's my last day. But the monitoring and controlling phase of the project, it's going to continue to happen after I leave. It's going to continue to happen through the training with Nirja and Ryan. And executing as well. That's the longest one. It's going to continue to happen through trainings, feedback, what do we like, what do we not like. That's also continuous. So the final thing I want to talk about was challenges I had across this internship. 4 points of challenges. Before I came to Creative Team, I really had no beforehand knowledge of how anything in creative works. It also didn't help that I did not have any Adobe software skills whatsoever. So that was a bit of a challenge, you know. Frankly, it was a little bit difficult, you know, me trying to tell creative what to do, frankly, when I myself can't even design any of the things that they're designing. That was a little bit of a challenge. It was kind of hard to meet creative at a point. You know, I'm telling them, here's how to improve your process, but I don't know anything about how you do your design work. So that was a little bit of a challenge. Like I said, my major was operations management, which is mostly into the manufacturing industry. Manufacturing trucks, cars, tangible things that you can actually have. The Blue Hive, we're in the marketing advertising industry. The things we have are online, they're in the computers. So it was really hard to keep track of those things. It forced me to change my thinking in terms of how process improvement can be adapted to marketing versus traditional manufacturing. Requirements gathering process. It wasn't always easy because some people in accounts would not be here one day, some people in digital production would not be here the other day, some people in creative would not be here the other day. So whenever I would go on Outlook and schedule meetings, not everybody was there at the same time, so that was a little bit of a challenge, but that's the nature of projects. It also leads into number 4, matching everybody's schedules. Some people have children, some people just have children, some people have vacation. The nature of Blue Hive, we have people Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, United States, all over, and naturally people want to go back, on vacation for some, not vacation, do whatever they need to do whenever they're gone. So it was a little bit difficult matching everyone's schedules, but I think this internship was successful in terms of opening up the conversation and really getting people at Blue Hive to think, how can we make our communication efficient so creative can get exactly what they need so they can immediately go into creating their projects. That was